Okay.
Or
Well,
so
welcome
we
everybody.
think.
Welcome everybody. Here we are again. Man, I don't know where the time goes, but it's we get some record rain down here in Arizona just over the last weekend and stuff like that. So it's changed there. I don't know what we're finally getting cooler weather. That's the best part. So welcome everybody. This is your old Captain Ron here, and I smile when I say the word old. It's true. And my good, trustworthy friend here, Dieter Staudinger, we're back with you again for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. And let me just get right into that if I can to make sure I get the right one and get the right slide on there. There we
And
go.
I will say, we did get some interest there. I think you're sharing your actual
I
PowerPoint
am
and
sharing
not
anything but what I want to share.
yes. Well, we have a couple of questions which we're gonna address a
Okay.
little later on the show. Um,
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, we're glad to see everybody tonight. This
Hold
is
on, you're still sharing your actual PowerPoint and not the presentation. So we just gotta get that
must have
straightened out.
interesting. Okay, well, I'll go there again. It's always something. Try that.
There we go. Now we're good to start.
Nothing to this aviation stuff, as we used to say. So, yeah, well, welcome again, everybody. This is our weekly live Fearless Flight Facebook show. For anybody out there who's got a fear of flying, people who know somebody who's afraid to fly, and those of you who just like to follow along and see what's going on in the aviation industry. Birds of a Feather Group, we always talk about that, whether you're just starting or your work on your fear flying or you've been doing it for a while. It's a safe, private space filled with people just like you. So we call it Birds of a Feather because we all flock together. And if you're ready to take the next step and can't think of what to do, just drop in and take a sneak peek at Birds of a Feather. Many people, when I have my first contact with them, they told me that this is the way they came to us initially was the Birds of a Feather. So um, tonight's show, full edition, and we got some cool things we're going to talk about. Start off with a real world story. Thanks to Tracy Solis. Tracy, if you're watching tonight, thanks for that. She gave me a story which is hopefully I told her that we're going to talk about this tonight. It's kind of interesting, I think, and we'll see what you think about it after we get done talking about this. And the bottom line is you're going to see even more how deeply the aviation safety system works, whether it means delays, cancellations, or just taking a breath now and then. The moments aren't cause for worry, which if you saw this in the news, the article on which this is based, you might wonder or have some doubts about this. But hopefully we'll turn those doubts into a sense of safety and well-being. So with that, let's get started here. Delta Flight 466, when a captain said no, this is a flight, it happened back in August 16th. I'm surprised that I had not heard about this in the news, and maybe you will be too when we get done tonight. Tracy spotted it, and it caused her warning flags to go up. And the uh, uh, the captain of this Delta flight, 466, they were going from, I think they were departing Atlanta. They were picking up this airplane, a Boeing 757, and the captain had flown this the previous day. And for all you anxious flyers hearing something that might spark worry, you might think, wait, what went wrong? But actually, this one is one of the best examples of how safe commercial flying really is. And it wasn't a story about danger like you might have thought at face value. It was a story about protection, a story about the layers of safety that go in there, professionalism, and the authority that every pilot brings to the cockpit. and it's proof that in aviation, if something doesn't feel right, we don't fly, and we don't have to suffer the consequences that you might imagine. So this captain had actually flown the same airport or airplane the day before, and when he flew it, when they landed it, he had noticed something subtle in the feel of the elevator control, and that's the fore and aft on the yoke, and allows the airplane to pitch up and pitch down. And back in I think it was August of 2000. Wait, it wasn't 2000. There was an Alaska Airlines airplane that had something that might have triggered this pilot's memory, where they had an in-flight catastrophe. Basically, the linkage to the elevator control gave way, and so that probably makes pilots. I know it did me. It made me more vigilant about things like that, and maybe not to discount them as fast as what I might in the future. But anyway, he noticed something not quite right, and maintenance, he wrote it up, and he could see in the logbook, and maintenance gave it a thorough inspection. They spent 9 hours, in fact, the day before, after he wrote it up, working on it. But when he came back the next day, he just had a feeling that his instinct said something just ain't right. So he made the rare but really important call to reject the airplane altogether. And we can do that. We can tell maintenance, we can tell dispatch that we just don't feel the airplane is safe. And I don't know what the way this article wrote, it had a lot of drama to it. And I want to believe that he didn't do it with quite this much drama, but he did make a PA to the people out there, advising them that they would be delayed. And he told them the reason was because he had a gut feeling that this airplane wasn't safe. And I have a lot of feelings about how I would do that. I don't know, so I'm not going to judge him for what he said or how he said it. But anyway, made him inform. Of course, he got a big round of applause from everybody there, as you might imagine. And within the hour, Delta brought a replacement 7.5, and everybody continued on their way. They deboarded or deplaned and got back on the new one out there. So you might say that the captain, even though he had flown the day before, maintenance checked everything thoroughly and found nothing wrong. But when he came back next day, he in the article it said he had a gut feeling, and here's the amazing part: he trusted that feeling. Now, I got some other things to talk about with gut feelings, because as a fearful flyer, you have gut feelings. But the problem is, many of your gut feelings are not based on experience or feel or anything like that. It's based on emotion. It's that thing we call the elephant brain that's taken over control of you. So I want to make that distinction. And even the captain, he has the same wiring that you do, and so he has to be careful about his gut feelings as well. What is really beautiful about this story is it shows how the system really worked, and although the decision meant inconvenience for passengers, and some of them probably more significant than others, but the point is safety always wins over schedule. Matter of fact, we have a triumvirate, a three-step thing. It was always safety, passenger comfort, and schedule. So whenever if safety was the highest priority, it didn't matter whatever went wrong. Safety was our primary concern. Then came the passenger comfort, and then came schedule. Schedule was always the last thing we would concern ourselves with if we had any doubts about the safety of the flight there. And when once they went through this, what I want to do is go through a little bit more in detail here. And one of the things I love about this story is that it reminds us how flying is both an art and a science. And if you never thought that way, maybe that's a kind of a shock to you. But there's a lot that goes on, as in anything. Even when you think you drive a car, you get a hunch sometimes, and you respond to those hunches, even though you might not have any hard facts to base it on. pilots develop something over time that's often called an aviation intuition. And it's not magic. It's what happens when you get thousands of hours of experience and you learn how the airplane feels, how it sounds and how it responds. And every airplane, not only the same type as if you're flying 737s, I noticed that over time, even different 737s, so the same model and type airplane that I would fly, each one of them had some unique differences. They get twisted a little bit, they get bent a little bit. You can see it in the trim when you're in cruise, how you'll notice that the elevator or the rudder might be trimmed off center just a little bit to keep the thing flying straight through the air. It's not hazardous or anything, but you do develop kind of a seat of the pants feeling with that. And sometimes when things don't quite match that experience, even if the instruments say everything's okay, there's a tiny internal little voice in here that says, hey, let's take a breath and check this again. But here's the important part. That kind of gut feeling isn't based on fear. It's built on training and experience. And every pilot is taught to speak up, to question, and to stop the process if something doesn't feel right. That doesn't mean just talking to maintenance as the captain did in this case. That means talking to the captain if you don't feel good about something that he or she's doing. And that's the thing that changed dramatically in the aviation industry back in the mid 80s when we started this generic program called Human Factors, where we started to teach pilots more how to bridge that power differential between the captain, who was always the final authority on the flight, and the first officer, who was somewhat less than, but we didn't want him to be intimidated or doubtful in any way when he had something to speak up about. So this even though this involved talking to maintenance and telling them that they weren't comfortable with the airplane, we do that on an individual level with amongst ourselves as pilots. So, and when we do that, we're not just protecting ourselves, we're protecting everybody on board, including you. And that's what professionalism looks like in this. So when we say safety always wins over schedule, it's not just a slogan, it's a mindset, and it is, you might say, the heartbeat of aviation. Now, even though this story shows great judgment on these guys' parts, relying on instinct does come with some downsides, and so I want to talk about those as well. Pilots are human. We are subject to some of the same nuanced intuitions and intuitive mistakes that might befall someone like you. And even the best instincts can be influenced by cognitive bias, by something that happens similar to this, and we mistakenly transfer it over to another situation. And a decision like this might create a little friction with maintenance teams who've just cleared the aircraft. But we're okay with that. And I've had many times when I've come in and with a discrepancy on the airplane, and the mechanics would say, Captain, we just can't duplicate that thing. And I would have to consider whether or not I was going to accept that. And luckily, the things that I was talking about usually were not something like control system malfunctions like this captain seemed to be concerned about here. And sometimes it can cause delays to do this. And in hindsight, it might not have been necessary. And for the captain, it's not easy. It's not a thing that we like to do, because we are concerned about your schedule, and we don't make want to make needless take needless precautions when it isn't necessary. But if we have any doubt, we're going to err on the safe side. And it's the kind of decision that has real emotional weight to it. But what's really important to remember is that these challenges are part of what makes aviation so safe. Every decision is made with the goal of protecting you all on board. And I can say that with confidence and in experience of my own like that. We don't know about the outcome. I felt obligated to do a little bit more research and see if I could find out what happened to this, because I don't know. I assume the airplane went out eventually, And but we don't really know how how the story ends, at least with that airplane. It was pulled from service, which means Delta took it out of rotation to check it again because based on the captain's refusal to take it. And that's the way the system is designed to work. But there's no public record of what maintenance ultimately found or if they found anything. And we don't know if they discovered something small or everything checked out perfectly fine. And just because the captain didn't have a good feeling about it doesn't mean that there was still something wrong. But like I said, there's no public record of anything that maintenance found. And so as of right now, we don't know that. And we don't know if that issue ever came back later or not. And this was, as I said, this was over almost 2 months ago now. And I haven't seen anything in the news about it. So we can assume at least that it's not reared its ugly head again. It's not unusual. In fact, that's pretty normal in aviation. What matters isn't having every answer. What matters is the system worked exactly as it should, and the captain spoke up in this case, and the aircraft was checked again, and
So,
safety stayed the priority.
Ron, we got a couple of questions regarding this. So the first question is, how experienced was that captain? Like, would anybody have felt that they could have spoken up? So that's one question.
Okay.
If I don't know if you can answer that. And the second question,
so if I understand right, you want to know how, mainly, was this typical? Was he unique?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or yeah,
I would say typical. Yeah, I would say typical. And here's the thing: even if he was a new captain is an old first officer previously. So he might, when you upgrade to the captaincy, you might have minimum, I would say, in this day and age is around 10 years of experience in the right seat. So you got a lot of experience watching other people handle this. So when you upgraded, you're going to be flying with, sometimes I would fly with first officers who elected not to upgrade to captain for schedule reasons or comfort or something like that. And they might even have more experience than me. And they're gonna speak up as well. And that, like I said, that was a big change in the industry in the mid 80s when we started to emphasize this. So I would say this is more likely the norm rather than the exception that he did speak up.
okay. And the other question that came in is how how likely is it that actually something was really wrong versus he just had the option to say, I'm not comfortable, right? And we don't know that because I guess that's the question was before that last slide. So
okay, yeah,
I guess
so I'll just reiterate, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether
exactly.
Really
that was
wrong
the correct answer.
or whether the correct answer is he wasn't comfortable taking it. That's one of the things that I always have enjoyed, particularly about the airlines, is that I have the authority to not take an airplane, and they're not going to discipline me about it. Now, let's say that I lacked confidence in, and I was maybe fine tuning things a little bit too much. They might train me. They might give me some more guidance. They might counsel me on that. They might take a look at, at what I'm using as a criteria to turn down airplanes. But I can tell you, this doesn't happen every day. This, there was a note in a story that the captain hadn't had anything like this in 22 years out of his 25-year career as a captain, and the first officer had something happen about 8 or 7 years ago. But you can see the rarity in something like this happening. So the most important thing is to know that there's no pressure for me to take an airplane that I don't feel comfortable with. And I've had that once. I remember as a first officer, we had an autopilot that kept tripping off, and maintenance tweaked it, and he just wasn't comfortable with it. And that wouldn't have been a safety of flight thing, but we had a long flight, 3-4 hours in cruise, and it gets tiresome and tedious to hand fly the airplane to the standards that you need to maintain altitude like that and pay attention. So the captain turned the airplane back, but there's no stigma about
Okay.
turning the airplane down. So when we step back and look at the bigger picture, the story isn't really about one captain or one airplane. And maybe this will add to the questions that we just had. It's about humans and systems work together to create the safest way to travel in history. Aviation safety isn't about computers or checklists. It's about people collaborating with technology and constantly double checking one another. Every single layer, from the pilot's intuition to the maintenance engineer's precision, everybody is there to keep you safe and keep things working in harmony. So the next time your flight's delayed or there's an extra safety check, remember that's the system working as it's supposed to. And every pause or every inspection, moreover, every second that we spend verifying something, that's a sign that the safety is working and it's not failing. And it's really one of the most powerful partnerships that there is on the planet. And train humans backed by world-class systems and maintenance, both focused on one thing, and that's getting you there safely. And of course we get ourselves there safely too. I have to remind people that we got an interest in the overall outcome of the trip as well. What do you really need to know about this? Well, if you're someone who feels anxious about flying, this is the part I really want you to hear. The story isn't about something going wrong. It's about the system doing exactly what it's supposed to. And I could extend that to when people, even as serious if you had an engine problem or something and you return to land, that's the way the system is supposed to work. But in this case, it's even more subtle than that. The captain did not ignore the feelings that he had. He acted on them, and the airline supported him. And that's proof that safety comes first every single time. And I want you to remember, pilots have the final say, as I've emphasized before. And if there's something that doesn't feel right, if I don't like the way it feels, I can stop everything until it does. And that's not inconvenience, that's protection. So the next time your flight is delayed, and we're going to talk a little bit in the monthly live monthly group coaching session, we'll talk about delays and cancellations. We'll probably go into a little more detail on this. But instead of thinking under these circumstances, oh man, something must be wrong, try reframing it as, hey, the system's doing its job, because flying isn't based on luck. It's based on layers and layers and layers of protection. And every one of those layers is designed with you in mind. The last thought is one I want you to remember, and that is everything that safety stands for. In the cockpit, we have a saying, if something doesn't feel right, we don't fly. And that's, again, it's not about fear, it's about professionalism and having the responsibility that comes with every single flight. And like I said, the captain in this situation didn't hesitate to make a tough call. And because of his decision, the system worked exactly as it's designed. It did inconvenience people, it set them back an hour, but the mindset to pause and verify, to choose safety over pressure, is what makes aviation the safest form of travel on Earth. You've heard me say many times that we just don't shortcut safety. So the next time you're sitting at the gate and you hear that the flight is delayed for maintenance or crew review, taking a look at things, take a breath and remember, it isn't a setback. It's safety in action. And that's really what you want is your bottom line as well. So from pre-flight to preparation to takeoff to cruise and landing is what you want to remember. And speaking of that, as we wrap up tonight, I want to bring this full circle and add to what we just talked about, the fact that the Delta captain had the courage to say, let's not just go yet. That's not just a nuance. It's a story about you. And every time you challenge your thoughts, your anxious thoughts, and every time you take a breath, instead of backing out and getting on the airplane, you learn that flying works. And that's your version of saying, if something doesn't feel right, I'm going to pause and handle it with professionalism. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to say, see, there it is again. And that's exactly what our October 23rd live monthly group coaching call or group session is all about. We're actually combining the pre-flight prep for those people flying with me on October 25th with our live monthly group coaching call. I figured it'd be a great opportunity to let the people who normally come for our monthly coaching sessions join us as we talk about how you, whether you're flying with me on the 25th or flying on your own to Hawaii or someplace, it's how you can approach finding your own way to pre-flight yourself and prepare for your upcoming flights. And so for our Clip Takeoff 301 graduation flight class coming up on Saturday, October 25th, this is your chance to put it all into practice, whether you're flying or whether you're just planning for the future. But for those of you flying with me, you'll get to fly in real time and you'll use the strategy, every strategy that you've learned from pre-flight preparation to takeoff to cruise and landing. And we'll go through the flight chronologically to help you get up to speed for that. Two classes. One, I'll be flying over to Burbank and joining the Burbank folks early in the morning and fly back to Phoenix, where we'll join up with the Phoenix folks and fly back, have a little bit of a debrief and a little celebration, and then I'll return to Phoenix for the last leg with the people who boarded in Phoenix. And it's one price, $197. We've dropped the price from normally the $397. So it's a great opportunity. It'll be the last time we have a flight this year. So if you've been waiting, as many of you have, this is the one to jump on. I just last weekend went to the new Air Hollywood facility up there. We won't be using that on the 23rd, but we did for those of you who joined us in the one-on-one class down there. It's a great new facility up in Valencia, and we had a really good time doing that. So again, if you're on the fence, been thinking about this, consider looking for the link and getting information and perhaps signing up. Here again are the flights. We'll leave Burbank over there at 11:35 in the morning. Hour and 40 scheduled flight. And if you've flown with us before, you know that's from block to block. So the time in the air was probably more like an hour 15 or so. And then we'll hit the ground at 1:15 and turn around with our Phoenix boarding folks. Depart at 2 o'clock, go back to Burbank, get there about 3:25, and we'll have a nice break so we can talk about what happened, and wish the Burbank folks success. And then those of us going back to Phoenix will turn around and get back on. A little bit more of a delay than I wanted to, but that's because the airlines don't have enough airplanes and they have to spread their schedules out, which Southwest has done. Again, a quick note about what to expect on October 23rd. Not only is it going to be the monthly live group coaching call, but it's a mixture of education, strategy, and emotional support for those people who are going on the October 25th flight. And we'll walk through the whole thing chronologically and let you know what to expect. Okay, and this is that the for those of you who won't be flying with us but want to attend, if you're in the Fearless Flyer Club, you get this as a benefit every month. You attend for free. If you want to do this on a one-time basis and are not a member of the Fearless Flyer Club, you can do it for $47. And if you have recently signed up within the first 60 days access for the Clear for Takeoff 201 course, you get the first 2 months of the live monthly group coaching call for free. So we're going to talk about, I've titled this, The Confident Flyer's Pre-Flight Briefing from Preparation to Possibility. So join us. It's a lot of fun, and I just know that you'll get something out of it if you come and join us. So any other questions, Dieter, that have come up? Oh, you're muted. I think you're muted, Dieter.
There you go. Thank you.
Got
So
it.
Sarah asked, will there be more flights next year? And the short answer is hopefully, because Southwest is changing their
Yeah.
policy, and we don't know yet exactly what that will mean for us, or how we can navigate that. So we intend to, absolutely, and if possible, maybe look into just keep checking in with us, and we'll keep you abreast of what's happening with that. And then
Just
Chris.
one specific thing. What it means is on January 27th next year, Southwest goes to like we'll start the boarding posture like most of the other airlines. They will have pre-assigned seats. So in the past, we could get there, we could pre-board, and because it was open seating, we could congregate and keep our group in a small cluster there. What it means is when they start to pre-assign seats, we're going to have our name in the ad somewhere. And so it may require that we actually buy a block of seats, and that'll change. It'll make you have to commit probably a little bit sooner, because otherwise we'll get stuck with seats if we don't sell them all. And but we'll keep you posted on that, and we've got feelers out to the group desk at Southwest Airlines to see how we can accommodate you. So.
Also, I want to address Christie's very well-known catch-22, and that is she can't fly to Phoenix to fly with the group from Phoenix, right? She's
Right.
on the East Coast. So the first and foremost thing that we recommend to you, Christy, is to join our monthly live group coaching webinars. Like, honestly, for if you only join once, it's 47. If you become part of the Fearless Flyer Club, it's just $37 a month, and you get access to, I think by now, 3 years
Yeah.
of previous webinar
Yeah.
recordings. You get access to all of our audio, video meditations and visualizations, and you get access to a couple of other courses. But all that said, we recognize that it would be great to come back to the East Coast, and if there is enough interest, we're definitely able to do so. Ron, you flew from Boston to Maryland, right?
Yeah,
Was it
down to Baltimore, BWI,
Baltimore?
Baltimore.
So, and I think Chris is based in Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah, we got Atlanta, Charlotte, Orlando, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth area, Seattle. There's a lot of places that we would like to do this with, and we're hopefully going to launch our new website.
Yeah, it'll make it easier
December,
also
maybe
to.
January, and we're gonna be able to get the word out to more people. The problem isn't nobody wants to fly. The problem is we just aren't able to get the word out to enough people in advance to do that. And we're gonna be changing that. So, and for right now, you just keep the faith. We will be doing this, continuing to do this in the future. And also, I mean, think about over the years. Well, we've had thousands of people that have actually flown with me and the group and the team over the years. It's really the exception and not the norm. It's
Yeah.
much more likely that you'll have to create your own practice flight, which we highly recommend. Get yourself ready. If you got the time and the money to do that, do a short flight. If you're in Chicago, fly to Indianapolis and back, or out to Des Moines or something like that. Take a short leg, and joining the Fearless Flyer Club is the way to do that. Joining the Birds of a Feather, coming on every month and doing some personal coaching, meeting other people in the group, and help to normalize your fear, because that's what
I was just gonna say, Ron, we definitely have people who are part of our monthly group coaching calls, and then they ask some of them have even hooked up in a Birds of a Feather group and then flown together, because we
exactly.
have, I think, 1,800 or 1,900 members there. So there's a good chance that there's somebody in your area, so they have connected, or you schedule a practice flight and then ask people in the group, in a Facebook group, to track you, right?
Yeah.
So you have that moral and energetic and emotional support on the day that you're flying. You work yourself up with the monthly group coaching. If you want, there's also the Fearless Flight Kit to support you. You can do a 15-minute free coaching call with Capt Ron. So there's lots and lots of layers that we offer for people who are not local to the Phoenix and LA area, which are most people. So
Yeah.
you're not that there is support and help there for you, is what I want to say.
A lot of people have out there and paved the way for you. So
Mhm.
it's very possible. So
Mhm.
remember, we're here to do whatever we can to help you. If you're watching this live or the replay, make sure you leave just say hello, if nothing else, in the comments down there. Tell us what your questions are and keep coming back, of all things. So thanks again, Dieter. Thanks to everybody out there. We'll be back again next week with another episode of Fearless Flight Live. So
Mhm.
take care, and
And
everybody have a great week.
and Sandra, if you're still watching from LAX, have a great flight and a great journey, and we'd love to hear from you when you're back. All right. Good
All
night,
right.
everybody.